and how it works across different platforms and different partners. One of the nice things about NDI is that it's an open, and we have over 300 people that are using our product, from companies like Evertz, Chiron, VizRT, Panasonic, LiveView, and the list keeps growing. We also have individual companies like the Weather Channel where they downloaded the SDK, they have the IP series, and they're using and creating their own tool sets. Furman University downloaded. Not sure yet what they're doing with it, but it's open to anybody that if they want to create something with NDI, you're more than welcome. So we're going to get started here. We're going to start with the IP, and you're going to see how we have a complete workflow from end to end, which is not what a lot of other IP protocols can say today. You'll get there. So, all right, Kane.
All right, thanks, George. Welcome, everyone. My name is Kane Peterson, and we've got some PowerPoint, but in between this, we'll be mixing in some demonstration and stuff, and ask questions. We want to make this kind of interactive and make sure everybody gets the answers they're looking for. End-to-end IP workflow. What we really want to show here is that we have products between what NewTek offers, our third-party partners and vendors offer, that allow you to do complete live production workflows using IP technology at every phase of it. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to dump everything you have. I'm not trying to say don't use SDI, don't use HDMI, get rid of that gear. This all works in association with what you already have. But undoubtedly, this is the way things are headed, and I want to show you that these pieces are here, and you can start adding the pieces into your productions and taking advantage of this, and we'll kind of explain how it goes and show you how it all works here. So basically, this will be, we'll start by talking a little bit about IP first, then we'll talk about products that allow you to acquire stuff and bring them into this IP workflow, produce that content, enhance it with additional capabilities, and then send it back out and distribute it to where you need it to go. From an IP standpoint, NewTek has developed a protocol or a format or a standard, whatever term you want to use there for, called NDI, and it stands for Network Device Interface. It is a protocol we developed. We give it out for free, and just to talk about it here, so it's royalty-free, meaning that we don't charge for it. Anybody can download this development kit, incorporate it into their products. We don't charge them for it. We even have competitors that make products that directly compete against us. We give them this code, and they can build it into their products. It's high quality. It looks like SDI video. When you look at what the source coming over the Ethernet cable looks like, nobody's going to look at this and say, what did you do to this video? It looks all messed up or it looks wrong. They're going to just say it looks like SDI video. It's low latency. All right, a lot of people, when they think of IP video, they might be used to kind of some streaming formats and, sometimes even maybe multiple seconds or at least, a significant amount of latency can be expected. And it can make it hard to work in a live workflow where you have sources not arriving very quickly. This is low latency. It's typically a frame or less. You could run this right along SDI, and you get the same kind of performance out of it, where people are not going to be like, why is that source always like so late? It's going to be just arriving just like the SDI video does. And it runs on standard Ethernet networks. By that, I'm just talking about 1 gig Ethernet. It's really all you need to make this work, all right? Doesn't mean you can't take advantage of 10 gig. You can. We even have some technologies that will work on Wi-Fi or 100 meg networks. So there's, in some cases, you can even go lower than 1 gig. But really, 1 gig is the target. And 1 gig networking is not hard to come by these days, right? I mean, almost any kind of network you get is going to have 1 gig technology, pretty standard these days. Most buildings are wired for 1 gig technology these days. So this is a kind of a protocol that will work on stuff that you can go into a place and use. And it's not like, oh, I got to build a big network infrastructure before I can even get started with it. It's like, I can use what's in place. Now, this is also more than just replacing a cable. I mean, certainly replacing a cable is part of it, right? We're going from like coax to Cat5 or Ethernet cable. But the real enhancement here is not I'm using a different cable. The real enhancement here is the new capabilities that this offers. They're bidirectional communications so that I'm getting data going both ways. I can run multiple channels of video across that one cable. So it's not one cable for every connection I need. It supports things like alpha channel. So, which SDI really inherently doesn't support at all, and you're doing things like using two cables and combining them together in weird ways to make it work. With NDI, all that is just built right in. I don't even have to think about it, it's just there. So it really gives you a lot of enhancements. And this is already a technology that's been out for 2 years. We introduced NDI about 2 years ago. There are already thousands of companies that have downloaded our software development kit. There's already hundreds of products available on the market that use it. And there's already millions of people that have produced shows and productions using NDI. So this is a battle-tested, tried and true, people getting stuff done with it. This isn't, we just released this yesterday and we're at version 0.9 and let's hope that it works. But we're actually on version 3 of this technology now. So we've, in the last 2 years, besides releasing it, we've released 2 levels of enhancement to it where we've added new features, we've taken feedback from third-party companies that wanted things added to it to always make it be as robust, as functional, as feature possible as we can make it. So in essence, what this is going to let you do is take something that's more like this kind of studio where you've got multiple pieces of equipment, I'm connecting all the cables to them, and if I needed to share stuff between them, I reconnect the cables, or maybe even something a little bit more like this where I put in a video switch in the middle, video router, and I'm routing everything through it. But even video routers have their limitations. They're only going to work at the video formats they were designed for. So if I put just an HDSDI video router in the middle, and then I want to start doing 4K video workflows with it, well, that piece is not compatible, and I got to pull it out and replace it with something else. And to be honest, they're not very inexpensive, so it's kind of a significant investment. And I still need one cable for every single connection that I want in there, so it's still a large amount of cabling needed to even make that workflow possible. So we're talking about taking solutions like this that we're typically used to working with today and replacing it with more like something like this. And even though this picture, I'll admit, does make it kind of look like everything's going into the TriCaster back out again, what really is, all this stuff is on a network together. And there's no reason that any piece of gear that you see in this picture can't communicate with any other piece of gear. This camera could go right into that recording system, and this camera could go right into that multi-viewer, completely bypassing the TriCaster if I wanted to, because they're all on a network, they're all talking the same protocol, so there's no reason that 2 pieces of gear can't directly communicate with each other. And that's really, once you start using this and you kind of see what it allows for, that's what makes this so powerful. It's no longer thinking about, I need a converter or an adapter, or I got to split the signal, or all the kinds of things we're just used to taking for granted as the way it is. It also just turns into, it's on the network. Hey, I want this signal here, and I also want it over there. You just go pick it off the list, show me this, boom, and there it is. And all of a sudden you're just like, that was so easy. How could it not have been this easy before, but now it is. So that's how the IP stuff works. Now, as we, I'll show some of this as we get into how some of these products work, so you can see it a little more in practical, but let's start talking about the products that fit into this. So the first kind of stage is you need to acquire stuff. You need to get material into your production. And we've got quite a few products available that we're going to talk about and show here. The first is a brand new one. This just came out a couple of weeks ago called the Connect Spark, and there's my Spark box here. So this is, if you want to think of it as the most generic way to describe it, this is your converter box, right? I've got models that have HDMI and other ones with SDI inputs on it. I do have ones of both kinds here, but this is an HDMI one. I plug in my source, and then it compresses it or converts it into NDI, and then it either comes out the Ethernet port in the front, or as you can see, it's got antennas on it. This can run on your Wi-Fi network, and it will spit it out as a Wi-Fi signal. This unit also has ports on the back, an SD card and 2 USB ports. This can also function as a recorder at the same time. So I could plug in just an off-the-shelf memory stick in here and record video right onto this box if I wanted to, along with it still doing the other stuff that it's doing as well. Yes?
What kind of quality, you talked about it's doing some sort of algorithmic compression or transference.
So normal NDI does use so there's 2 levels of NDI. All right, so there's normal NDI, or the full bandwidth NDI. I guess we don't really have a very good name for it. It's the original NDI, and that uses a style compression. The closest way to describe it is very much like DNX HD or ProRes. So if you've used those, it's that same kind of algorithm, same kind of data rates. It's about 100 megabits per second for like 1080 video over a network. These boxes do use more of an H.264 style compression. It is a long GOP, but these get data rates down to about 10 megabits or so. So that's how we can make this run over Wi-Fi, because running 100 megabits over Wi-Fi is not saying impossible, but let's say it's extremely difficult to do and do well. So those are the kind of compression types that are being used in here. But anyway, so you plug your stuff in. Here, I'll let you take a look at that. You can pass it around so everybody take a look. And that's what these boxes do. So now, one of the nice things we've done with this is that we've tried to make NDI as completely easy to use, self-discovery, I don't need to know a lot about networking as possible. Let me show you what I mean by that is. So I'm going to go to my laptop here, and we've got an application called NDI Studio Monitor. All right, this is a free application that you can get. I want to start this out blank so we're not seeing anything. All right, this is a free application you can get for both PC and Macintosh systems, and it will let you view any NDI sources that are out in your network. All right, so you can go download this today, put it on your own computers, and start trying this stuff out. So, using this software, I can go in and I can click a little button here, and in this list you see all these names you see in here? This is, when you look at everything in front here, from that end of that table all the way over to Panasonic's table over there, we're all connected on a big network, and every piece of gear we have is NDI capable. And so these are all the different devices of everybody's. There's live view systems, there's the AV70 Panasonic camera over there, and stuff like that. They all are showing up. And so if I wanted to use any of these or see any of these, all I got to do is pick it off the list. So in my case, my Connect box that you see there, that is showing up as this NewTek Connect right here. That's what my box is named. And I can name that anything I want. That's just the name that it comes out of the box with. And so I'm going to go select that. And you can see I've got two of them. I've got both an HDMI one and an SDI one. And again, I can even give those names so they don't have to be, they could be something like, hey, here's my wide shot or whatever it would be, podium shot. So I'm going to pull up the SDI model here that I've got. And when I select it in a second here, there is the video coming in. And that video is actually this little tiny camera right here. Right, there it is. I'll plug into an SDI Spark right here, and there's the video coming in off that box. So I didn't need to know its IP. All I had to do was just start the software up, find it in the list, and work with it. Now I might need to go in and configure it though, because maybe I need to set it up. Maybe I want to add it to a wireless network. So how would I do something like that? Because to be honest, that's kind of difficult stuff to do with a lot of boxes like that, is getting them configured. We've made it super easy. You just go in here and you click this little gear. It opens a web browser. You type in the it actually saw my password from earlier. Normally it'll ask you for the super secret password. You can change it, but mine's admin, right? It's really and there you go. So there's the administration page. I can see the video coming into the unit, so I have it, even for over the network, I have an idea what this thing's pointed at. There's my record settings, how much space is available. I don't have a memory card plugged in, so it says there's no space on it. I can adjust the video bandwidth. Now, if I'm on a wired network, I'd always use high, but if I'm putting it on Wi-Fi, I can adjust the quality of the bandwidth of the signal based upon the quality of my Wi-Fi. So if I got a lot of devices, maybe not very good Wi-Fi coverage, I could drop it down. If I have very good Wi-Fi, I could leave it on high and get the best quality out of it. Got some settings for audio, and then you can also go over here to the admin page, and I can set things like updating the firmware, setting up Ethernet Wi-Fi, all that kind of stuff. So, no problem. So if I wanted to put on a Wi-Fi network, there you go. There's all the Wi-Fi networks in the area, and I could say, connect to this one, and once you set it all up, it's all stored in the unit. So after that, the next time you turn this thing on, it's going to automatically connect to that network. You don't have to go into it. So you can set this all up ahead of time, and then just take it on site, hit the power, and boom, it will connect up to the wireless network and be ready to go.
Does it automatically know if you're plugging in a cable versus the Wi-Fi network?
The cable always will take precedence if you happen to have both.
Okay.
So.
And what we were just looking at was obviously slow refresh. So.
On this window?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so you can see here's the actual video coming off the unit. You can see it's and it even tells you at the top. I'm getting a 1080p 30 off that little camera. It automatically senses what the input is. But yeah, the web interface. It does not update every single frame. It's, I don't know, maybe what, a frame or two a second,
Yep.
maybe not even that much. It's enough just so you can see what the camera's pointed at, but it's not like you're getting a full frame rate in there. But you know, that way you, even if you're over a web browser, you at least know, hey, this is what is going on. So that's kind of how one of these Spark units work. So if you need to, you know, just take a camera you've already got or a piece of equipment you already have, you want to turn it into an NDI piece of gear, you can get one of these boxes, plug it in, put it on the network, and now any device that reads NDI or can see NDI will be able to see this device. One other thing you can also do, when you buy one of these boxes, we give you also a free piece of software with it called Virtual Camera. And so besides just being able to talk to anything that's NDI, there's also a whole world of software out there that you can feed webcams into, right? Like Google Hangouts, Skype for Business, GoToMeeting, GoToTraining, right? You know, you can just go in and you pick like the webcam off your computer and put it in there. We've got a free plugin that you install on a computer, and this will allow you to take any of these Spark units or even the camera, which we haven't looked at yet, but we will, and take that signal right over the network and feed it right into that webcam application. So I could take a Spark box and feed it into like a GoToTraining presentation if I wanted to and use that. So that gives it another world of software applications that you can tie these boxes into and use beyond just the NDI stuff, which is kind of what we're mostly talking about, but you know, it gives you, you know, it's not limited to just that. Okay, so that is the...
Oh, I have a question on that.
Sure.
On the recording side, will you only be able to record what your camera is outputting? Or let's say if your camera is outputting 1080p, but you want to record a 720.
It's going to record whatever the feed
in
coming in is,
okay.
yeah. If you want that kind of stuff, you could, like the TriCaster gives you some control over that, but yeah, on these boxes, it's just you plug it in and it does whatever the source is and follows. So. The next kind of box we have is kind of like a Spark, but this is like a more of a studio installation version, if you want to think of it that way. These are like basically a high-density rack mount computer with a built-in multi-viewer and everything if you want to take advantage of it, called our Connect boxes. We make a couple different models. We have one that's got 4 SDI inputs and another one that's got 8 SDI inputs on it. And with these, you can rack mount them in, plug in your sources, but it does give you some extra capabilities you're not going to find in the Spark boxes. It's got color correction and scopes. It's got more audio adjustment capabilities. So again, for more of a studio or higher end type stuff, I mean, these are like kind of just your basic converter boxes, but you know, this is, to be honest, you know, a little bit more sophisticated. Also, the Connect box, our higher end model can support up to 4K UHD video format. So if you want to start working with 4K video, out of those 8 ports that are on there, you can quad link. You can take 4 of the inputs and put them together to take in one 4K UHD video stream, or output it as well, because they actually do input or output on there. So let me just give you a really quick what that looks like here. I've got one of these boxes right over here, and you can see there's 8 video sources on there. Now, some of these are playing clips. You can also use this to play video clips, but I've also got some that are, could be bringing in sources or out sources. So when I go in here, I can select one of these and find any source that's on the network, whether that be a physical input on the unit or any network NDI source that's out on the network. So I can either bring in an SDI source and turn it into NDI, or I could take an NDI source in and turn it back into SDI if I wanted to. So this box will actually handle either direction to get stuff in and out of your NDI format in there. There's also, like I mentioned, there's color correction controls. So if you go to the color tab, you can adjust brightness, contrast. We've got some advanced color settings in there, and there's also scopes in there. So you can, if you really need to be a little more precise in what you're doing, you can see waveform vector scopes. So, the professional kind of tools you need to, make video look good. We've also got, this unit has built-in recording, and in fact, this can also do, this can control all 8 channels at once. So with literally one button press, I can have all 8 channels of video recording simultaneously, which could also be very good if I want to do like a multicam edit after the fact. I can use this just to capture all the cameras and then bring that into an Avid or Premiere or Final Cut or whatever. And I've got, up to 8 angles, all recorded perfectly in sync with one another, and then I can, redo my edit after the fact if I wanted to.
In what format can it
This
record?
box records in a QuickTime format. And these boxes record, actually it's an H.264 and it's an MPEG transport stream. Although you could just rename the files MP4 and most places will play it. Like VLC player plays it without a problem. But yeah, these boxes do QuickTime.
So how would that integrate in a TriCaster with the TriCaster?
Something like this. So I could, let's say I need to bring multiple cameras. In my studio I'm doing an 8-camera shoot. All right. Our new TriCaster models give you 4 SDI cameras built right into the box. All right, but I need to get 4 more SDI cameras in, and how do I get those in? I put one of these on my network. I could plug in 4 more SDI cameras, so the 4 here plus the 4 on there gives me my 8 total. And these will all just come in then over the network into that system. And when we look at the TriCaster, you have a better idea, I guess, when I show that. But these sources will appear just like video sources into my TriCaster, and I'll have all 8 of them. And in this case, if I had bought an 8-input system, I've got 4 more inputs still available for future expansion, or I could use these as outputs if I need to get outputs. And the other nice thing about units like these is they just have to be on the network. They don't have to be locally close to where the main system is. So George and I guess he's not in the room right now, we went to a university down in West Virginia, and they were building a new studio in one building on campus. And they wanted to pull cameras from the stadium on the other side of campus into the studio. And so we literally, for the demo, we brought a TriCaster TC1, we set it up in their studio, connected it to the network of the campus. We then drove over to the stadium. We put one of these boxes in the stadium. We set it up for both inputs and outputs because they wanted to get the cameras from the stadium in, but they also wanted to get a return feed from the studio back into the stadium to run some displays inside the stadium. And so with one of these boxes, we were able to give them up to 8 sources of in, out, whatever configuration they wanted, but leave the studio on the other side of campus. And then when they wanted to go to other places, I think their ultimate goal is they just get connect boxes in each location so they don't even have to physically move them around. But I think right now that's what they were going to do. But the whole thing is they could go anywhere on campus, and basically all they had to do is put this and some cameras there, and they could pull back in their studio, and all their studio gear, all the monitoring, layout, everything, graphics, audio mixing, all sat back in the studio and didn't have to leave and move and be pulled around. And that's really where these things become, in those kind of situations, fantastic. Or at a corporation, we had Allstate here earlier. They could have all that in the studio, and they could go to any other place in the building, plug a camera either directly in using like a Spark, and pull like some video in of whatever they need to bring in.
And apologize if this is a rudimentary question, but I'm trying to get my head around it.
Sure.
If I have just a regular router, okay,
The regular network router?
yeah, and would I need that if I, just plug in 8 cameras to?
Well, so you do need a network switch. Doesn't have to be a router per se, but a network switch. And it just got to have enough ports for the number. And you can run multiple channels of video over a single cable. So you just need enough ports for the number of devices, not necessarily the number of video streams. So like for example, I could have, let's say I've got 4 of these things. I would need 4 cables for this, but then for the one going into my TriCaster, that's just one cable that will carry all 4 of these signals into the TriCaster. So it's just a device thing, it's not like SDI where, hey, if I want to get 4, I can need 4 cables now still. Here it's one cable transports, multiple channels. Both directions too. So now it's like it'd be 4 in and like a couple back out the same way. That's where the cabling can become much less than what you're used to as well, because all of a sudden it's like what would be, half a dozen or a dozen SDI cables literally could turn into a single network cable, not including the audio, tally, and everything else that goes around it too, because that's almost always separate cables on top of it. So it can really reduce the cable nightmare and the cable load, cable costs, and wrapping up cables when you're on site, because all of a sudden it just turns into it's a network cable. The cable gets damaged. Network cables you can find almost anywhere, right? Find me an SDI cable if you're out in the middle of nowhere. It's probably not going to happen. So hopefully you brought some extra ends and cables and stuff.
So tally, it supports tally too.
Tally, yeah. In fact, on this unit here, the lights there, which one is it? That is input 6. So if I put input 6 to air, can see the lights just turn red to show that it's now on air. If I put it on preview, just take it off here, they turn green. So tally is part of the signal there. The camera supports it as well. There's other interfaces you can get to make tally work, but yeah, tally is part of is all integrated into this. It's actually the easiest tally you've probably ever used, because tally is kind of a pain in the butt otherwise. And here it's just like, it just works. It's automatic. It's, you know, for people who've worked with tally in the past, they're just like, you don't know how easy that is. So, all right, oops, that is, I've been hitting the button here. All right, so that's the Connect NC1. So we got a couple different models of that, and that's what I would expect most people put in their studios. This is more for the that individual camera or something a little more mobile type solution.
What is the price point on the NC1?
There's 2 different models right now today. There's the 4-input SDI model is $6,000, and the 8-input output model is $10,000. All right. So these are great, the Connect Spark and the Connect NC1, to take existing equipment you already have, baseband sources, and turn them into NDI sources. But what about, does anybody make a camera that just is NDI right out of the camera? And if we'd done this a couple weeks ago, the answer would have been no. But luckily now the answer today is yes. And so we just introduced a few weeks ago this camera called the NewTek NDI PTZ1. It's this camera right here. And we have built right into this camera an NDI protocol. All right. So on the back of this camera, there's a network jack. And if you have all the right gear in place, all right, that one network cable can be video, audio, tally, the PTZ control, and power. So you literally can plug that one cable in and have everything working at once. Now, I don't have a power over Ethernet switch, so I do have power plugged into mine. But beyond that, I'm just using the network cable for everything else in my case. This camera does still have traditional baseband, you know, SDI and HDMI outputs. So you can use it with traditional gear. It's not NDI only, it's just NDI in addition to. So the nice thing there too is that if you do have already existing gear and you want to use this camera with it, it's not like you can't. You know, you could still plug it to an SDI, whatever, and use it. But then, you know, you bring it into an NDI workflow. It's already NDI, ready to go out of the box. It's not an add-on or anything you got to purchase. It's just in there. Yep.
So what if you just recently bought a PTZ? Like I have PTZ optics, SDIs. Is there an update?
So PTZ Optics, there's 2 other companies right now that are working on NDI upgrades to their cameras. Panasonic, we have here, is one. PTZ Optics is the other one. And PTZ Optics, with their Gen 2 cameras, all right, they will have, and I think this is going to be out shortly, a NDI firmware upgrade. It's not free, you have to buy it, but you'll be able to put that firmware upgrade, and this is how Panasonic will work as well, on their camera, and then it will be NDI just like you're going to see. So once you see how this works, your PTZ Optics will work exactly the same way. It's just going to be like, it's just, you put it in there and it's automatic. So, but right now today, this is the only shipping camera. I know Panasonic told me they're hoping next week that the firmware for theirs should be available on some of their models, so they should be shortly. I honestly don't know what this time frame on PTZ Optics is. It should certainly be before the year is up, but I don't know if that's next week, a month from now. I don't have an answer on that. But let me show you how this works so you can have an idea. So even you with your PTZ Optics, you're going to get a good glimpse of what's coming here. So I'm going to go back to that same NDI Studio Monitor application, all right, and click on that list. And in here, right there, is my PTZ1 camera, and I only got one of these right now, so there it is, channel 1 showing up. You can name that whatever you want. That's how I just left the defaults. And I'll select it. And there's this camera. So here's this camera's video coming in up there. And you might have saw it real quick there, but if I go drag over here, there's my PTZ controls, and I can control this camera just that easily. For anybody who's ever tried to set up a PTZ camera before, this is the easiest PTZ setup you will ever have in your life. You don't have to know IPs, you don't have to know anything. It's completely automatic, 0 configuration. You connect up to the camera, and PTZ just works.
What's the price point for that?
This one is $27. I'm the tech guy, I'm not really the sales guy, so maybe I think it's $27.99. So there's presets in here, all that kind of stuff. So that would be with your PTZ Optics. Once they have the firmware out, it will work the same way. You just put that on there. Panasonic has a 70 model over there with a beta version of the firmware. I can go in, there's their camera, select it, give it a second here to connect. There's their camera, there's the PTZ controls. Now I'm controlling that camera over there.
Wow.
Right? That's how simple this is. It's almost insanely simple.
Can you control speed of preset
I
speed
believe
control?
on the Panasonics you can. They'll talk more about that. Ours, you just pick it and it just goes as fast as it can. But
Okay.
those get into things between higher end and lower end PTZ cameras. And I'll be honest, ours is more of an entry level camera, so it's going to give you the stuff. But when you start asking for features like I want specific move types and stuff, that's what you spend more money for a PTZ on.
What resolution do they carry?
I'm sorry, what's that?
What resolution of picture?
Well, all of these right now are 1080p. So, I mean, and you could choose like whether or not it's 720, 1080, stuff like that, up to 60 frames a second.
Will that PTZ camera work? I know there's free open source controllers that'll control speed and presets and all that. Will that camera?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
It's so new. That's something I want to, I haven't had a chance. It does have serial ports in the back, and I believe it will take in Visca control, but I've not physically tried it. But actually, when I go home tonight, I live in the area, so when I go home tonight, I have the cabling to do that, and it's one of the things I want to try myself. I forgot to do it the first time I got the camera, and it's been out of my hands since then. So anyways, those are the main things I wanted to talk about and show here is these. I will mention these other ones on the bottom. We do have an application for both iPhone and Android called NewTek NDI Camera. You can get this off your respective store for either of these devices. It's not free, but it's not terribly expensive either. This basically will turn your camera into an NDI camera. You know, either you just load the app, put it on the network, you turn the app on, and then whatever video is coming out of the camera will be NDI into your production system. It could be great maybe for like a B shop, B camera type thing. In fact, it's a really good use. I saw one place do it. They were doing a cooking show, and the guy on the cooking show wanted to show from his perspective how you did like this chopping or something. So they literally, pulled the camera out, and he's right there, and he's like, "See, you do it like that." I'm like, okay. I probably wouldn't use it for my main camera, but for stuff like that, it's kind of cool. We also have, and everybody here should go get this if you're interested in trying this out. We have this free software package called NDI Tools. All right, this is a great way to learn how to use NDI and start playing with NDI, real NDI. This is not like some kind of fake version. This is like the actual thing. All right, and this is available for both Mac and Windows. And although the Windows side does have a few more tools, so just be aware that if you install on Windows, you get a few extra things. But this includes applications like one called NDI Scan Converter. This will take the computer screen of a computer and present it as NDI. You're actually looking at that right now because that's my laptop that you're seeing up here. How am I getting my laptop, into the production system, out to the monitor? It's just on the network, so I'm just running NDI Scan Converter. It grabs my computer screen, which is right now a PowerPoint presentation, and brings it in, and that's what you're looking at. So you're actually looking at NDI exactly right now at this instant. We also have a tool called NDI Test Patterns. It just has standard test patterns and tones, so it's a great way to just check a connection somewhere. We have a tool called NDI for Adobe Creative Cloud. So if anybody here's used Premiere or After Effects, all right, free. You install this on your Creative Cloud software. It gives Premiere and After Effects real-time NDI output. You literally could be editing on the timeline, hit play, and it will be real-time NDI coming out right into an input of your TriCaster, or you can even feed it into the NewTek Studio Monitor, that viewing software. Somebody else on your network could be watching the output of your editing system. It even will support the alpha channel, so you could be in After Effects building a custom effect with an alpha channel, bring it in your TriCaster, and there'll be an alpha channel in it. You could overlay it on live video. So that's kind of cool, and it doesn't cost anything. Well, you just need Adobe. We also have a plugin for VLC Player called the VLC Player NDI plugin. If you use VLC Player, extremely popular open source video playback system, you put this plugin in it. Anything a VLC Player can play, it will play it out as NDI. So if you've got a workflow where you're like, well, I use VLC to do this, and I'd like to get it into that, just put this in there, and there you go, and it will do that. There's also a tool here called Access Manager. So if you start you know, when it's a small production, probably you don't need this much, but when you get to a larger production, maybe you got multiple studios, and you want to control who can see what and what gear can be used by who, right? I got a Studio A and a Studio B, and Studio A should only use Studio A gear, and Studio B should only use Studio B gear. Access Manager will allow you to set up those groups and determine who has access to what gear in there. And you could easily go in though that during, you know, hey, for this next production, I need one more camera. Can you share, you know, one of your units over here? You could go in, add it in, use it, and then when you're done, turn it back off and give you that ability to do that kind of stuff. Yep.
So would that allow you to set limits on, let's say you have a PTZ camera hooked up on your network, and a way to prevent anyone else with NDI monitor from going on and messing with your PTZ camera?
Yes and no. Okay, it will, if you take things out of the public network, because everything by default starts in the public network, it will make it invisible, and somebody will have to know what the group is that they need to add to. The groups are not password protected though, so it's not like if somebody knew, they could just type in the group and they'd be part of the group. So it does give you some management on it, but I wouldn't say it's ultimate security level on it, you know, from that. For that level, you really, the answer is got to secure your network and do levels there so somebody just can't like plug in their computer and then be part of the network if they shouldn't be. But this would certainly make it so that you don't have like accidental usage where somebody's grabbing a piece of gear that they shouldn't be. You can kind of isolate who has access to what gear in a normal sense of using it. And then the last tool in here, and you've already saw this, is really more on the output side, but is the NDI Studio Monitor. So that's this tool we were just using to view the sources. So you can put this on machines, and we did just release, by the way, a Macintosh version of this. So if I pull that up and put 14, there's the Mac version of the software. Both this is the Mac version of NDI Scan Converter, because that's how you're seeing the Mac screen, and there's the Mac version of NDI Studio Monitor running in there as well. And so I'm able to pull this up and you know, set it up and do whatever I need to do in there. I don't know what I got something wrong with it. Anyways, so I want to turn it over to Live View here. They're going to talk about some other products that they have that are also NDI enabled that really fit into the acquisition side of this workflow. So I'll turn it over to you, and I'll pull up your PowerPoint here in a second.
All right, thanks very much. Welcome, everybody. How many of you have heard of LiveView before? All right, most of you. That's excellent. Well, thank you very much for coming. And as soon as he pops this PowerPoint up,
There it is.
LiveView, very good. We'll start. Excellent. My name is George Klippel. I'm the Director of Channel Sales, and with me today is Sebastian Alvarez, who's my NewTek person. And we're glad to be here participating with the folks with NewTek. And today is not September 13th. That's just our Boston date. We just didn't update the slide in case you thought you went back in time here a little bit. But we were actually the first NDI partner with NewTek at LiveView. We got the API developed first and out to market with our products. Really excited and proud of that, and have had our products on the NDI platform ever since. And as a matter of fact, LiveView sells the most products with NewTek products. So we've been around again quite a long time, and our products sell not only into a lot of different verticals, but mainly they go out with NewTek products. So it's a good product to be partnered with. A little bit about us: we're the experts in live video over IP. We're known for cellular bonding. That's what our products do. We have over 20 patents for the creation and development of live video over bonded cellular. We have a unique technology that's our secret sauce, if you will, called LRT. I'll explain a little bit more about that in a minute. It's called LiveView Reliable Transport. We have end-to-end workflows for both broadcasters, online, schools, house of worship, you name it. If you're doing anything in streaming, we have a solution for you, starting off below $1,000 all the way up to around $25,000. Our solutions are all managed by a centralized management portal, if you will. That's all web-based, so you can manage our units and work with our units anywhere in the world from this portal. And our units are use both physical and cloud-based video type of servers. So let's talk a little bit more about where we started. We were founded in 2006. So So we've been in business just about 10 years now. Over 5,000 units are in use in over 80 different countries. We have over 2,000 end user customers that are producing just gobs and gobs of content. 111 plus terabytes of monthly live transmissions. We're headquartered up in Hackensack, New Jersey here in the US. We have 24/7, 365 support for our products. And about 65% of all live shots you see on broadcast television come off of LiveView gear. So when somebody's doing a stand-up, reporting from a hurricane or the massacre in Las Vegas or wherever you see it, here even in Chicago, they're using LiveView backpacks like you might have here on our desk. Our products come in 4 different categories. It's a very broad portfolio. The portable ones like this here, the LU600, the 200, those are our field units. That's what this guy's wearing on a backpack there. They connect to the camera, and that's what sends the signal on. They're the encoders, if you will. We have vehicle and fixed solutions that can go on vans or on tripods or get rack mounted into a unit. We have decoders. We even have software that sits on your cell phone and bonds the signal on a cell phone or iPad and can be used for streaming as well. And again, as I mentioned, everything is managed by a centralized IP cloud-based management solution. The LRT, or LiveView Reliable Transport I mentioned before, is available on all of our products, from the entry-level product all the way up to the highest end broadcast product that we have. It does packet ordering, dynamic forward error correction, acknowledge and resend, and adaptive bitrate encoding. This is our secret sauce, patented, and we're the only one that can do all 4 of these things. Some competitors can do 2 or maybe even 3, but we're the only ones that do all 4. And instead of reading all of this to you, I'll show it to you on a slide. It makes it a little bit easier to explain. So the top line is the available network bandwidth. What's the bandwidth out there that you're getting with all your cellular modems, right? The next line down is the actual video bit rate that you're streaming out. And the audio bit rate in a live view environment is always consistent and locked in sync. The first little circle you'll see here is a network fluctuation. The network bandwidth is dipping down. It's the equivalent of going from 4 bars to 2 bars on your cell phone, essentially. And you see what happens with the video bit rate. It goes down when that network bandwidth dips, right? That's automatic, and that's because of the LRT. It's kind of like riding a wave. The next circle you'll see, the video bit rate goes up. That's because the network bandwidth improved, right? So we're riding the wave of the available bandwidth that's out there on the network. The next one, the bandwidth drops out dramatically, falls out, right? But notice our video bit rate, it compensates, it goes down with the available bandwidth, and then when it recovers, we go back up again and deliver more video bit rate. We do this automatically on the fly in real time. That's what LRT does. No one else does that on the market. So if you're working with a solution that makes you set a static bit rate, say 4 or 5 megabits, and it's right here, and this big dropout occurs, what do you think is going to happen with your video? It's going to freeze, it's going to stop streaming, it's going to lock up. We don't do that, and that's what LRT is essentially all about. So that's as technical as I get in my slide deck. So let's get back to NDI, because that's why we're here. We're supporting NDI, we're proud partners with NewTek. And this unit here, this orange one here, our little server called the LU2000, is our bonded video receiver. Our backpacks all send the signals to this unit. It can receive up to 20 simultaneous feeds. It's a single, dual, or quad output. It outputs not only NDI to the TriCaster, but it also does SDI and even RTMP simultaneously. So you can have this thing in your head end or at your server, or even in your fly pack, and connect it into the TriCaster NDI. And today we have it connected to this state-of-the-art 4K camera here. Really, it's not a 4K camera, but it's connected to our field pack, and it's going right into our server. And from our server, we have a network cable connected NDI right into the IP series over there where Kane is. And he just called it up, and that's really it. It's that simple. It's a straight-up connection camera into the field pack, driving straight into the NewTek unit. Very easy, all IP based all the way through. It uses the LRT. Our servers also support with our units IFB. So if you're talking to your reporter in the field or your camera person and you're back in your head end, you can talk to them through an earpiece through IFB. And it's fully, again, managed and controlled through our web-based interface. So a typical workflow when you're Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot about this part. Very powerful together, live view with our NewTek NDI, because we're allowing you basically to send all your feeds through into the NewTek world where all the graphics and animations and everything else that you can do with the power that he just showed you a few minutes ago is able to be done easily, integrates easily, seamlessly, and all over IP. So a typical workflow for us is you take the unit like the LU200 or 600 here. It's using cellular modems to bond the signal together, or Wi-Fi, or Ethernet, all of the above. Sends those packets over the internet via IP, hits our server, and then we send NDI output to the IP series just like we just did, right? The other option is a multicam shoot, or what we call at-home production, where you're sending people out and not sending a whole production crew anymore, but you just send the cameras out. And they're going out into the field with these field units, and then they send the signal back across the internet to the head end wherever your production environment is, and they're doing the production by the server and NDI out into the TriCaster. Nesson's been doing this New England Sports Network for the last 3 years with the Boston Red Sox. They used to send a whole production crew down and trucks and everything else down to the spring training down in Florida. Now they just send the cameras and the camera people down, 6 cameras shoot down to Florida. They leave the whole production up back in Boston, and they transmit everything over our backpacks to the head end up in Boston. Yeah.
There's no issues with syncing those cameras up?
Yeah, all they do is all of our cameras can set delay, and they set the delay to 1 second on each camera, so they're all in sync, and then they send that signal back, and the server's synced up to a house. Yep, and they just stay in Boston. Yeah.
So each camera needs its own, like a LU200?
That's right. Each camera, they use LU600s in that case. Each camera has a backpack, and each camera, they have 6 cameras on in a baseball game, and they sync each one up to a backpack, and all 6 are coming back to the server. And in that case, they have multiple servers, and then they're outputting NDI and SDI into their routing environment.
So if they're all around the baseball field and cabling's an issue, they can each have their own, like a Verizon hotspot, sending their own. They don't need to run video cables.
Yeah, there's no cables at all. It's actually they have a camera on a tripod with this right here. There is no cables. One SDI cable into the camera.
And then each one would have their own hotspot or a way to send.
There's 6 modems built into this, so there's no hotspots at all. Yep, that's it. So that's a multicam workflow. And then finally, the last one that we'll switch over to in just a second is we're on both ends of the workflow when you're talking about a NewTek workflow and environment. We not only can feed from the camera into NewTek and do an IP workflow, we have a lot of places that want to use us just for transport. I was at an event yesterday in Washington, D.C., and I needed an internet drop. They wanted to charge me $4,000 at the DC hotel for one internet drop for 10 megabits or something like that. In this case, we can use our live view unit as a bonded output for a TriCaster. So let's say you're here with Kane, and Kane wants to do this big event, and we're doing a multicam shoot of this event, and I want to send it to Periscope or Twitter or Facebook or your webpage at the school or wherever. We could take this output and send it through our Facebook page. Is our Facebook page up?
That's it. That's it.
There's nothing moving.
Yeah, I don't know why when I go on Mac.
Kiki's just sitting there.
It's live, it's just the internet to the Mac.
Yeah, I'm only on my little MiFi adapter, so it's.
Oh, okay. Well, so we're over there is our LiveView solo unit, and what we did is we connected it to the output of, what is it connected to? Your
It's actually a little Spark player.
Out of his Spark player, and we're using that as output. So you could take the SDI output of the SDI output of the TriCaster and use us as transport. So in this case, Kane's given us a crappy signal out of his out of his Mac or something, but. So this is not the live view's fault. This is Kane's fault.
This is my
Kane's
MiFi.
blowing my demo. That's what Kane's done. He's sabotaging me. So the point is that you can use us as a transport, and a lot of people do. So if you were going remote, like this is perfect for schools, perfect for churches where some, like my church locally, they use our system, the little system that we have, because they do all the Sunday worships, but sometimes the pastor will go outside and do a Sunday worship during the summer, right? And they videotape it outside, but there's no internet outside. They don't have an Ethernet connection, right? So they videotape it and just use the cellular as an output from their little TriCaster. They have a TriCaster Mini, and they use the output from the TriCaster Mini so they can put the little words up and stuff like that. But you can do your production where there's no internet and no access to it, or in a hotel or in that type of environment. Yes, sir.
So your LU600,
Yeah.
how does that work with the PTZs that need an IP? They need an Ethernet connection to get control of the camera. I get the SDI connection,
Yeah.
but how do can I control my camera, my PTZ, with this unit attached?
No.
Okay. So
Yes.
it's a fixed position
Yeah.
without a cameraman.
Yeah. So our units all take SDI and HDMI input.
So
Right.
that'll get me my visual.
That's right.
I just won't have control of the camera itself. I have to have it in a locked position.
That's right. Now we do have, unfortunately Panasonic doesn't have them with them today, but we integrate with 4 of the Panasonic higher end streaming cameras. They're AJ, I forget which models off the top of my head.
Yeah, we have
The PX270.
270, 380, and 5000.
Yeah, there's 4 of those models that we integrate directly into, where actually we'll, through our interface, or a web-based interface, we'll have control of like iris and white balance, and they integrate into our environment. Those ones we'll work with. With the PTZs today, we don't have a tie-in or integration with, right? So, but we do have, again, those would integrate into the NewTek environment as an input, and then you'd still be able to use us as a transport out, right? So, any other questions?
So how would you choose the transport out? You would choose an end distribution?
That's right. You would take our unit would connect to the SDI out of the TriCaster environment or the IP series environment, and then you would say send it to wherever you want. You can send it to one destination, multiple destinations, RTMP.
How many destinations? How would you do that?
Yeah, so we partner with Switchboard, the one at the very top there. Switchboard allows you to send to 3 destinations for free, and then more than that, you would get what they call an enterprise account. Okay. And then you would pay them X dollars for, if you wanted to send it 5 or 10 or more or whatever.
Is there significant latency for that at all?
No, none at all.
And so, based on your scenario, your pastor, for instance, could have a TriCaster Mini and your backpack solution and send it up on it.
Yeah, they could send it up on the church webpage and then on Facebook, or church webpage and Facebook and YouTube. Yeah, not a lot of people, the majority in fact actually don't send to multiple locations, because when you start sending to multiple locations, you have to start thinking about, okay, I'm now developing assets and managing Facebook interface and ads for Facebook, YouTube interface and ads for YouTube, my own web page interface, and then you're sending people to different.
Yeah, you're splintering your audience.
You're splintering. That's exactly right. And sometimes that's hard for people, but especially if they're smaller.
Right.
But what's really good about this again is when you take, especially like for schools, high schools in particular, when they're doing sporting events. We have a lot of sporting events. They don't use necessarily the 600. That's the highest end unit we have. They use the smaller unit, and they'll stream all the sporting events to the high school webpage or to their Facebook page, and parents from all over will be able to watch the kids' sporting events. And parents like myself who travel all the time, you'll just be able to tune in and see your kid's basketball game from the hotel room, and they take their little TriCasters that they have, they don't have the big IP series yet, but they'll have a TriCaster or some sort of NewTek device that they take that's portable, and they bring it out to the stadium and they can get a signal out, which is great.
So can you just give us an idea, what's the difference between, let's say, the 600 and the 200? If the 200, they're using it at high school, it's bandwidth? Or
it's all about the modems and connectivity, exactly right. So the broadcasters use this device mostly, and it's the highest end model that we have. It has 6 to 8 modems, right? So the more modems you have, the more connectivity you have, the better the ability to get your shot out. And then the 200 is this unit here. It has 4 modems, so you have less modems, smaller in size and scope and scale, if you will. So that's really what makes the bigger part of the difference. But there are other little things, like this has the ability to have an H.265 card. This does closed captioning. It'll have video return. So there's some enhanced features on this that, a lot of people don't really need when they're doing streaming. And then the unit that Sebastian was holding down there, the LiveView Solo, is our entry-level unit for $1,000, HDMI in. And that's perfect for when you're doing a church service, or if you're doing the high school plays, and the concerts and the things like that, right? So it all just depends. We have specific products that kind of fit a niche, So.
But I mean, are you going to see more breakup, let's say, with that Solo than the 600?
You'll see. I wouldn't say you'll see more breakup. You'll see, that unit and this 200 unit stream at 5.5 megs. The 600 streams at 7.2 megs. So if you took a Solo to the inauguration or the Super Bowl, and you took the 600 to the inauguration or Super Bowl, this is going to perform better because it's got more modems. It has a bit higher quality, right, than that does. It's just going to perform better when you're in that dense area or when you're in a really far remote area. That's where the differences are going to be. We have broadcasters that use all three and take them out for different reasons, right? So if you're out doing a regular shot here in Schaumburg and you're doing a news story and you're just out doing video and doing the shoot, any one of these will work just fine. But if you're out if you're at the World Series and the Cubs are ready to win it, and you don't have this, and everybody's out there with their cell phone and live to Facebook, all the bandwidth is getting sucked down. But we have other things too, like our extender that has the ability to go past the first tower, and so there's a lot of difference.
You don't use like a CDN to back it up?
What's that?
You don't use like a CDN to back up your live stream?
No, we do have a CDN. We have a cloud server and we have a physical server. We record to a built-in micro SD card here too as well. So, can you give us a general idea of cost on the levels? Yeah. Starts at $1,000 down there. List price $6,900, and then $22,500. And then we have everything in between. So.
You said list, so we'll get discounts.
Of course, yes, you'll get discounts. So that wraps up my time. I'll be around after as well, and we'll all be here. So if there's any more questions, I'd be glad to answer them. And I think Panasonic's coming up next.
Yep.
All right. Yes. Okay.
You have your memory stick again? I didn't copy off last time.
Thank you.
All right. So I've been the guy with the corny jokes, like this whole time, yesterday and today, and goofy jokes like, what do you get when you cross a brook in a stream, wet feet, goofy stuff like that. So I'm going to stop doing that because, when you go into your room, you find a gorilla in the bed, what's the best thing to do is to leave, right? So we're done with those. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Panasonic's NDI family of products. I'll just jump right in here. One of the things that's kind of cool is we've been doing power over Ethernet with our PTZ cameras for quite a while already, which has been really nice, but you still have to go through all the configuration, setup process, and all that, which, as mentioned, is a pain to do all that on PTZ cameras. So now we're able to add in the NDI HX capability with our camera product line on our Pro PTZ lineup, which means that you can have an end-to-end workflow. This is actually the way that we had to do it before, where we had to actually have some auto-link software and all that to make it work. Now we don't have to do that anymore. Now it's built in directly to these cameras. So we have our HE130, which has been around for a few years, and our UE70 and our HE40. Those three cameras have been around for a while. There's a new model version of those coming out called the HN or UN with the same numbers on the end, which the end means that it's NDI ready out of the box. The other models, the HEs or the UEs, as mentioned before, you guys can, if you have an existing infrastructure of those cameras, there are firmware upgrades available for those to be NDI ready, okay? Which means, well, right now the 40 and the 70, we will have the firmware available next week. And the 30, or the 130, will be available at the end of the year. So it's a little bit more of a complex camera. So the other two are going to be ready to roll out next week. And the upgrade is $300 per license. Then we're also coming out with a new camera, which would be the HE or HN38, which is at a little lower price point than the HE40, a little less capable, or a little less feature-rich, I guess, than the HE40. And I'll show you a little bit about that here in a minute. So here's the deal for us with our PTZ cameras. Part of the reason why we wanted to partner up with NewTek on this NDI process is the fact that we have one of the largest install bases of pro PTZ cameras out there in the market, for one. And we've built them all based off of our broadcast technology that we've been doing for a very long time, if you're not familiar with Panasonic camera lineup. So we're taking that technology from that and putting it into the PTZ cameras that we make, because it's such a, the market has asked for the PTZ cameras for quite a while now. And we're just trying to make it easier. It's all about simplifying the workflow for our end users. So here's just a quick look at the three cameras that will be running up by the end of the year, specifically I guess on the 130, and then these two here shortly. But a few of the features that are important for you to see, the HE130 is a 3-inch 3-MOS sensors, and it's a 1080 camera, 20x optical zoom, ND filters. ND filters also on the UE70. UE70 is a UHD 4K camera with a 20 by optical zoom. That's the one that we have over there. And then the HE40 is a 1080 and 60p. It's a 30x optical zoom and electronic zoom as well, but it does not have any ND filters. But all of these are power over Ethernet, so one cable in, which is fantastic, and NDI. And then here's just some more feature stuff that'll be on the disc that you guys get later. Here's just the differences between the HE38, the new one, and the HE40 that exists. So obviously the price point's a little bit lower, and then the zoom capability is a little less, and it is HDMI only for the 38. Did you have a question?
I was just curious if the less expensive one, will it have the ability for the smooth moves live as well?
Yeah, all of these are on-air, live panning capable. That's what they're used for all the time out of the gate. So it's just got a little less features than the other camera does. Is really all. So it's the same platform. So the other part that's kind of nice is the fact that we've been doing this for a while, and we have a complementary line of products that go along with our PTZs, like our controllers, the RP120 and RP50 and our HRP200 heat box, and then even the little hand remote control that you can get. But also we've got our auto tracking software, we've got our apps. All of these functionalities are going to be are in the cameras now, or with the cameras now, and you can integrate into an NDI workflow as well, which is pretty cool.
Not that we wouldn't want to buy your products, but if we plug it into a TriCaster, could it control the camera as well?
Yeah, he was just doing it a minute ago.
Yeah. So
It's the same NDI.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you have a question?
Your auto tracking, does it use a sensor of some sort?
It takes a picture. You take a picture of the person's face.
No sensor at all.
Facial
Face
recognition.
recognition.
Yeah.
Does it only work in a well-lit environment like this, or?
We've done some pretty low light stuff, but Michael can address that a little bit
Yeah,
more.
I mean, it must recognize the face, so light has to go.
So you can just have that person come up, take the snap, then go back, do their thing, and the camera recognizes.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
You basically, very easy, just point to the person, frame it, snapshot. You have kind of database. There are knobs. You go there. But
And it's a technology that we've borrowed from our security camera line as well, and it works really well. All right, so here's our lovely Internet mind-blowing things slide, which is really cool. And then here, this is just kind of a quick overview of, NDI plus Panasonic. Essentially means, easier to connect, simpler to deploy, even with more power and flexibility.
yeah, usually people struggle with the setup of the camera because all of the box there in standby mode. So if you not purchase remote control, or if you don't know how to access camera web interface, you just stomp, hey, how I can make this live. Now you just block and boom, camera live.
And so when you're doing the setup, basically all you have to do is you select your NDI HX in the priority mode. That's the extent really of your setup, correct, Michael?
Yes.
Here's what the new cameras will look like, different compared to the old ones. So the old ones don't have this little logo on them, but the new ones do. Isn't that nice? And obviously they have the firmware too. So, and here is basically what the upgrade path for the other ones is that new activation license via the firmware update. Like I said, those will be available, should be next week, that's what we're being told. So you can keep an eye on the Panasonic website for that if you want, and if you've got existing 130s, 70s, or 40s, it'll work. Not any of the older cameras than that.
So the 38, which was like 20, what was it?
2200.
2200. Is that have a Ethernet port in it now?
Yeah.
It does?
Yeah, and that one, I don't know exactly when that's shipping, but that's the newest one, newest model to be added.
You don't, and that won't need the upgrade.
No. Nope.
And that's still SDI capable.
It has
No, it's
That one
HDMI
only
only.
HDMI.
HDMI only for that.
to have you either your new TriCaster should be HDMI or you use it on.
Well, if you're NDI and
Video
everything's going
combo,
with
right?
that, everything's going with that Ethernet, so you're in good shape.
What's the real distance for HDMI?
The real distance for HDMI?
It's 50 feet.
50
You need
feet.
repeater with a good cable. Very expensive
And
cable.
repeat, or without a repeat.
Without repeater, 50 feet, but believe me, your cable will be couple houses.
Yeah, I've used 50 feet HDMI to do live streams, and I haven't had any problems. I don't run.
It's depends on device by itself.
Yeah.
Actually, but
So this is the other. This is the other thing that's new for us, and this is actually, we're super excited about it. This is the live production center. It's the HLC 100, and this is basically an all-in-one system that it's a mixer, it's a recording and streaming, switcher, graphics, PTZ control, all in one unit, developed in conjunction and collaboration with NewTek. So this is a big deal for both of us. It's really neat, and if you guys want to come over and take a peek at it afterwards, feel free to do so. This will be shipping in December, and the list price will be around $15,000. It's a really great, simple solution. You know, if you've got a handful of PTZs out there and you need to do some live switching, and you also want to stream, it's all in one box. It's great, and it's got up to 8 inputs. So up to 8 devices, depending on how you configure things, and it's a nice little box. So here's just a slide kind of showing the end-to-end workflow. The cameras, the HLC 100, Power over Ethernet Plus switch, which I know you guys heard about that earlier, I believe, as well. It has to be Power over Ethernet Plus to power these cameras. Power over Ethernet will not work. It doesn't have a high enough wattage. I think Power over Ethernet is like 15 watts or something. It needs like 30 at least.
yeah, 13 compared to 30 watts. So
Yeah. So if you
make sure you switch PoE plus. Sometimes they trick you also manufacturer because they say PoE plus, but they share the budget, the voltage among the ports. So must be 30 watts per port. Because many customers run into this issue. Also Cisco switch, they use some own protocol for power distribution. That protocol has to be disabled if customer using Cisco switch, otherwise camera will never get 30 watts.
And last but not least, piece of advice, word to the wise, never slap Chuck Norris. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. We're gonna continue on from where we were here. So we heard from LiveView and we heard from Panasonic here. So let's get into production. This is probably the area NewTek's been known for best. We've been making products that fit into this category for a long time. That includes our TriCaster and our new NewTek IP series line. For those of you who don't know what a NewTek IP series is we introduced this last year, and this is our high-end production solution. In many ways, maybe marketing doesn't want me to call it this way, but you could just put Super TriCaster in there and get kind of a good idea of what that basically is. But the TriCaster, we have a bunch of different models of those. They're going anywhere from kind of 8 input type solutions up to 16 input type solutions. So depending on the size of the production you need. NewTek IP series is kind of the, certainly it will handle small, but all the way up to very large productions. 44 external inputs with the internal sources as well. You've actually got a 64-channel video switcher along with all the other capabilities, recording, streaming, virtual sets. So there's a lot of production power in there. We're actually going to be looking at NewTek IP series interface-wise, but all the stuff I'm talking about actually does apply to both of these. So we'll be getting some good info on both. So just for those of you who have not really seen a TriCaster much in the past, this is what the basic interface looks like. So up at the top, you've got kind of a little multi-view display, so you can see all the different sources coming in. You got your preview and program output. We've got additional multi-view windows up on the interface here, so you can hook up additional ones to have more multi-view area in a setup. In the middle is your switcher panel. So here you can select all your different sources, both external and internal, transitions, downstream keyers. And then at the bottom of the interface here, we've got different tabs that open up different parts of the software. So we've got built-in media players. This is for holding video clips, stills, graphics, titles, that kind of stuff. We've got a PTZ control in here. So if I click over one. So this is where you can control all your PTZ cameras. We've got a little virtual joystick in here, presets. So if you don't want to use the joystick on the control panel, you can just use the controls in here to control the camera. There's also a built-in audio mixer. And so this will allow me to see all the different levels coming in. I can make adjustments to gain, muting, soloing. We do have some advanced audio capabilities, including things like 7-band equalizer, compressor limiter, noise gate. There's also multiple audio routing in here, so if you needed to produce multi-language or create mixed minuses for remote callers and stuff like that, all this kind of capabilities in there to deal with those situations. These systems also have multiple MEs. A lot of times when people talk switchers, they're usually talking things like 1 or 2, maybe 3 MEs. Actually, our TC1 model systems come with 4 mix effects buses, and our IP series system has 8 mix effects buses. So we're talking a massive amount of mixing capability. And this is where you can do all of your multi-layered effects, create secondary outputs. Virtual sets are all in here. So there's a lot of ME capability in here as well. Now, a few of the newest things we just added, and that's kind of what I focus on a little bit more here, is what we've added recently. At NAB, there was a few big new features added. TriCasters always has been a very strong solution for streaming, and we've enhanced that in these latest versions now. When I go into my streaming panel, we now have 2 channels of streaming output. So previously, TriCasters came with 1, right? You could stream 1 channel, and then you could send that to Facebook or YouTube or wherever it is. But there were problems with that. If I wanted to stream to Facebook and to YouTube simultaneously, I had to use a format that both could accept at the same time. And Facebook maxes out at 720, which meant then my YouTube had to max out at 720 as well, because I could only encode 1 thing. Now I'm no longer subject to that limitation. I can set up encode 1 for a 720 encode and encode 2 for a 1080 encode and stream to both streaming platforms and get the best quality out of both in there. But beyond that, there's more options as well. We've also moved all of the encoding parameters directly inside the software. So anybody in the previous Lane TriCaster, if you're used to trying to set up a custom encode, I'm going to admit it was a little bit of a pain. You had to exit out of the software, you had to build the profile, you had to go back in the software, you had to import the profile, you had to test the profile, and if you didn't like what the profile was, you started doing that all over again. Now, there's everything right there. I want to stream, 1080. We've got some presets in there you can use. I want to adjust the bit rate. You can just punch that in. It even gives you a little quality meter so you have a pretty decent idea on is this going to look good or not before I hit the stream button. So all of this is just integrated right in and ready to go. Another thing we've also added is the resolutions don't have to be locked at 16 by 9. A more popular thing going on these days is called square streaming. I know it sounds weird, but if we all think about it, we all like to hold our phones this way. Maybe not video professionals because we feel that's wrong, but most people out there like to hold them vertically. And when you put 16 by 9 on a screen this way, it doesn't fit very well. It's kind of small. Facebook's determined that if you stream out a square aspect ratio, you get something like 60% retention of people who would just otherwise drop not watching it there. And we support that. So you could go in here and say, hey, let's stream 1080 by 1080, right? But now I want to know, well, what is a 1080 by 1080 stream going to look like? Well, we've got built right into our output monitor here. Whoops, not the clock. We have a square safe area, so I can see exactly what part of the active picture is going to be streamed out and what part is going to be chopped off on the side, so you can do that. Now, with having two streaming engines, that means I can also stream out a square aspect ratio and a 16 by 9 aspect ratio at the same time as well. So it's not like I have to give up one to have the other. I can have both at once.
So it basically just, cut the image.
Yep.
It don't.
Doesn't squeeze it, it literally just chops off whatever doesn't fit properly. So that's all built in. And then you can also set what sources you want to these channels. So in my output window here, you can see I've got stream 1 and stream 2. I can choose what sources and what audio mixes go with it. So again, these streams, besides being different aspect ratios, different image qualities, they could be completely different content. One stream could be my English with English titles and English audio, and the other stream could be Spanish titles and Spanish audio. So again, whatever combination it needs to be for what you want, we've got all the kind of capabilities in there to allow you to do that. So major streaming improvements in the latest TriCaster TC1 and IP series system.
Is this what's considered advanced edition for people who've upgraded to?
Well, this is kind of like Advanced Edition Plus. So there's Advanced Edition on our current, I hate to use older TriCasters, but they're kind of the older TriCasters now. So this incorporates everything as part of Advanced Edition, but the new streaming engine here, this is not in Advanced Edition. This is only in the newest TC1 and IP series systems. So this is in the newest systems, and I doubt that this is going to come to Advanced Edition systems because the reality is that hardware has kind of reached the point where we've gone a long way with it and had a lot of capabilities, but we're just kind of reaching to put a whole other streaming engine in it. It's just like there's just not the CPU performance. We need the new hardware that's got new CPUs and a higher end graphics card to make that kind of stuff happen. So that's what's added in the second ability to do a second channel in there. So streaming is one of the new things in there. Another thing we've also added, we have a product out there called TalkShow. All right, TalkShow is the ability to bring Skype calls into your production. And this has been a standalone product that you could add to TriCasters or other video equipment. Well, we've taken basically that same technology and built it right inside of these new systems, TC1 and IP series. So let me use an input we're not working well. I'll just use a different input. We'll use input 5 here. And I'll change this to one of my Skype inputs. So Skype caller 1. And you can see now input 5 is showing Skype in it. All right, so that port has now been set up to work with Skype calls. At the same time, notice that my audio slider for input 5 has got a little Skype logo next to it. This also tells me that this audio slider has been set up with the appropriate mix minuses and everything you need so that this Skype caller can talk to the production, they can hear back, but it's all been done for me automatically. In fact, since we have 2 channels of Skype that can be set up, if you set up another input, it too would get set up with Skype, and the 2 callers could talk to each other, they could hear, they're not going to talk over themselves. So all of that is just automatic and taken care of, making it very easy. There's also a talkback channel, you can see right here with the Skype logo on it. This will allow you to feed an audio source in, and when you hit the talk button on that Skype caller, you can talk to them independently from the production to give them information. Hey, you're going live in 2 minutes, and the first question we're going to ask you is this, and by the way, you set yourself up in front of a window, and the light's blasting through, and all I get is a silhouette of your outline. I don't know, anybody who's done Skype, I'm sure you've seen that, because that's what every single Skype user does. I don't know why it is, it just happens all the time. So you pull the shade down, I don't know, do whatever you can so we can see you better.
So talk show had, what, up to 4, many? I mean,
we had a single and a quad unit of those,
okay.
And then we still have those, and you can use those to expand the number of talk show callers in here. So if you said, man, this is great, I have 2, but I've got a place down in Utah that's going to be doing a 12-channel talk show production. So they've got a TC1 with the 2 channels in it, and they've got 3 more talk show units. So they also have a few spare channels, but their plan is to do a 12-channel talk show program.
Okay, so the TC1 is 2.
It's 2 built in, and then anything more than that, you get a talk show unit, and you can add 1 or 4 more at a time,
okay,
depending on which model it is. So, but let's call this, all right, so you can see how it works. So to manage these calls, you need another piece of software, and this software is free. So let me go back to my laptop here, and it is called Skype Control. All right, I'll go launch this up here, and I'll log into my account. And this is going to log into my Skype user. So this you install on another PC. You just get it from Microsoft, put it on a PC. It's going to log in, and right now I only set up 1 Skype channel on my system here. Well, it's over there somewhere. And there's that one. If I had 2 or if I had additional talk show systems, I could set up more of these slices, and I can actually control up to 14 calls simultaneously inside of 1 software interface. And over here are all my Skype callers. So there's all the people that I've associated with this account. You know, you just go on Skype and you search for them. Or if somebody was calling me, I can click the little telephone icon, and that's where I can receive calls if somebody's coming in. But let's say I want to call myself on my phone over here. So I'm going to go in, and I'm going to say, let's call Kane Peterson, and hit the little call button.
So does this have to be done on a separate PC and then fed into?
Well, yeah, this is just a separate PC to run the management software, and then just over the network, it talks to the TriCaster or talk show systems to manage the calls. So the nice thing is here is my production operator, he doesn't have to manage the calls unless he wants to. Somebody else could be managing, calling, answering, and stuff, and getting those calls prepared, and then they just show up as inputs in the system. So let me start up Skype here on my phone. It was ringing. Open this up. Now, so there's the video, right, coming from my production. That's what's going back to me, and that's what you see on the phone. I'm not getting video from my phone because I didn't turn the camera on, so let me turn the camera on. Give it a second here. There we go. There's the camera video. All right. Now, these are not full frame rate. These are just to give you an idea what's going on. So if we go back to, and let me turn the volume down. Oops. There, or I'm just going to mute the audio. There we go. So anyways, there's input 5. Let's put input 5 on, program out. There we go. There's input 5, and there's my Skype call, right, coming off my phone into my system in there. Now, while that's going on, there's a few things that we can do. We go back into here. I can see the quality of the video coming from my phone. And in fact, if I turn my phone and give it a few seconds here, it should even tell me that I'm holding it the wrong way. So I'm going to do it twice. I don't know why it's not always the first time. There it goes. So you can see that's telling me I'm holding the phone portrait, right? For those video professionals out there, you can tell that guy, take that phone, turn it 90 degrees, please, and then put it back into landscape mode. You can also go to the outgoing tab, and this will tell you what I'm sending back to the phone, so I can see what resolution my Skype user is receiving. I can go in and set some video and audio settings in here. So I can choose, like, for example, where the Skype logo will be placed on the screen. I can adjust some audio settings. This actually, to me, is one of the most important parts of the whole system, is this audio processing disabled, because Skype, or virtually any kind of computer-based video IP platform, has usually a bunch of built-in audio processing in it for like noise reduction and echo cancellation and auto gain. And when you're doing like my laptop speaker and mic to another laptop speaker and mic, yeah, you want that stuff. But when we're in a professional video and audio environment where I've got a mixer and I'm controlling levels and I can really do a lot more than what my microphone and speakers of my laptop does, I don't want to be fighting the built-in processing that come in these things when I can deal with it to a much better degree inside the audio mixer of my system. So this gives you the ability to turn that functionality off and say, hey, Skype, don't do any of that stuff. I'm going to take care of it, and then you don't have to. So it might seem like just a little minor checkbox, but I can't tell you how many people I've talked to in the past where they're trying to use like desktop Skype and wire into it. And I mean, there's people doing it, and then I hear from them later, and they're like, yeah, but man, I'm just constantly trying to work around Skype's audio doing this, and then it's doing that, and and you can't disable it. It's like for part of the thing, it decided to do this thing, and a part of it not. And I'm just trying to like deal and work around it. And it's like, yeah, here, click, gone. I don't have to deal with it anymore.
If I want that on my interface, like I see it up in the upper right monitor. So if whoever is controlling can also manage that?
Well, you would just have it, I just have it hooked up so you can see it, but
okay.
Normally I would just have a laptop or something running inside and they could just do it from there. So, I mean, the operator can do it, it's not that they can't, but it's just going to be done from a different interface. The nice thing is it does give you the ability that somebody else could do it for you. So we're not making it the operator must control the Skype calls. It's just if they want to, they can. That could be sitting in some other room with some other guy managing the calls if you wanted to. So we're giving you either way with that. So that's kind of a basics of how the talk show, Skype TX portion in it works. And if you're afterwards, if you want to see more, we can go through the other parts of it there. And then the last piece of it here is we've also added 4K UHD support. Now the big thing I just want to, is the takeaway there, is that on almost any other switcher on the market, when you go into a 4K mode, you generally lose about 75% of your capabilities. If it was a 16 input switcher, it turns into a 4 input switcher because they need to take 4 inputs of whatever it is, combine them together to give you a 4K input. If it was a 4 ME switcher, it also drops down to a 1 ME switcher because again, they got to take all 4 and kind of put them together to give them those capabilities they need to work with one 4K stream. And so all of a sudden you're ending up like, hey, my switcher was fine, but I went to 4K and now I don't have the capabilities anymore I need. None of that stuff affects TriCaster or IP series systems. If I have a 16 input TriCaster TC1 and I go into 4K mode, I still have a 16 input TriCaster TC1. Or if I have a 44 input IP series in 4K mode, it's still a 44 input IP series. I still have 4 or 8 MEs. I still have the same number of clip players. So literally, I can still just do the same size productions I was doing with 4K mode. And we also allow you to mix and match too. So it's not like everything's got to be 4K. We just allow you to use 4K along with the other stuff. Yeah.
Can you only bring in 4K at 60 over NDI, or can you do it over
No,
HDMI?
NDI will bring in a variety. So we support as a baseband video format 30 and 60 frame rate, but I mean technically NDI is resolution and frame rate independent. It could be anything if you wanted to. There are people in Japan doing 8K with NDI already because they're always a little more ahead of us even. So okay. So that's that. The latest thing we added that I just want to show here is at IBC, so this was just a few weeks ago, we introduced a new product called Live Panel. And this, I think, is really, really cool. This is only available on, it comes standard on IP series, and it will be an add-on option to TC1. It is not going to be available for any of the previous models, so this is something you need the latest models for. But let me show you some of the stuff it does. And this is stuff that some people have been asking about for a while. So I'm going to go back to my laptop here and open this up. So I'm just going to open up a web browser and type in the IP address of my TriCaster in here, if I could type. And you get this. Now, these are all different tools that are available that different people can open up on their computers, be it a PC, a Mac, a Linux box, an iPad, an Android tablet, a phone, right? It just needs a web browser. One of the first ones, and probably one of the most common things we've been asked for years is, I want to take that audio mixer that's in my TriCaster, and can I put that in front of somebody else because that's a different person than the operator is? Well, now I can go in here and just click where it says audio mixer, and there's a web-based audio mixer, and there's the levels, and there's the adjustments, and I can mute and solo and make some adjustments in there. It's fully bi-directional, so if somebody comes in on the TriCaster and makes an adjustment, like an input 1, you can see that input 1 follows on the web-based. So it's not even like one's going to be out of sync from the other, the two of them stay synced together. So that's a really nice, just that alone, enhancement. But other things that are in there, you have somebody who's going to be helping you get all your media ready. We've got a built-in media DDR management tool. So I can pick any of the DDRs or still players if it's a TriCaster in there. Let's go to, I don't know, let's try DDR2. There we go. And so there's the clips that are in there. I can rearrange those clips in any order I want. I could go add new clips in. Let's add one I don't have. I can then trim that clip, so let's make that a little shorter in there. There you go. And just to show you here, if I go back into the VMC and DDR2, there's those same clips. And let me just change one so you can see it over there. I'm going to go grab the pin board, the 4th clip, and make it the 1st clip. I'll drag it over, boom, and you see it just did it. So I don't even have, the operator here doesn't have to have it up and visible. This can all be running behind the scenes, but now somebody on a laptop could be managing. They could getting my clips loaded, getting the right shot, getting it trimmed, getting everything ready to go. And then when they're ready to call, and in fact, if you want, you can have manual transport control, so they can be playing and stopping and everything. Yep.
So if somebody using a separate laptop is controlling these video clips, they want to add a new one. Can they add a clip that's on that laptop only, or does it already have to be on that?
By default, when you hit this plus sign, it allows you to add any clips that are already imported into the TriCaster. But if it's not been imported into the TriCaster, there is a browse button, and you can go, and this will push it in, but it is going to take a little bit of time, and this is also not going to transcode the file, so if it's something the TriCaster can't play, well then it's not going to play. So I always recommend importing them through the TriCaster first. That's going to be the safest way. And then if you do that, they'll be in this window immediately, so you'll be able to see it, select it, and you know it's going to work. But if you don't have that option, yes, there is the ability to push something in, but it's kind of up to you to make sure that everything is good then, because otherwise you could transfer a clip in and then be like, yeah, the clip won't play. It's not a format we don't like. It's a ProRes file. Well, we don't play ProRes files, so there's that.
Do you have to be on the same network?
You should be. It is. It is web-based technology, so if you set up the right connections, there's no reason it wouldn't work. I will just give you a little, this is all built on another technology that's called our web app API, and I'm just going to take a little moment here and talk about a side thing. There's a company or a guy out there who I actually found out is based in Illinois. He's really close. He has a web page or a web tool that's free called Web Captioner. All right, it listens to your microphone and it creates real-time captions. Yeah, he's in Sycamore.
No
I found this out a couple days ago. He went to Northern, and when he looked up my profile, he's like, "You went to Northern?" I'm like, "Yeah, I went to Northern," and he's in Sycamore. Anyway, so it listens to your microphone and it makes real-time speech to text. It's pretty cool, and it's free on top of it. Well, he just released a plugin for our competitors, and I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, I work from NewTek, and I will do whatever I can to help you make that work with TriCaster." And he reached out to me, and that's when I found out he lived in Illinois and all this kind of stuff. And he's just like, well, his first question is, he goes, "I absolutely want to make it work," but he's like, "I don't have a TriCaster. How do I test this?" And I'm like, you know what? Here's what I'll do. I can make my TriCaster, I can create a port forward on my router, and I can let you send commands to it from the internet so that you can do it and you can see it. And I said, and here, hang on, and I had already written this previously. I've got a little web app I wrote myself that allows you to take the output of your TriCaster, and it's not full frame rate, it's like 1 frame a second, but it allows you to send it out as a JPEG image, and it just updates every second and gives you the image. So I said, hey, hit this URL. Next thing you know, he's like through Messenger, he's just like, I see video, and I'm like, yes, that's my my TriCaster. I'm like, send this command, and then he sees the titles, the text update, and I'm like, here's how the format of the command works, and the next thing you know, the title's changing on its own, and I'm going, you're updating my titles, and the response is like, I'm going to get this working so easily. This is simple, you know.
Oh,
so
wow.
it's possible. Obviously, everything has to be set up, but it is a possibility. I don't know how well these apps are run over the internet. They do pull a decent amount of data, but at the same time, it is not an impossibility because it is just web technology. The next one we have in here is a switcher. So this is a virtual switcher that allows you to see all the inputs, and you can see they're even updating the video. There's the outputs, there's my downstream keyers, and if I want to switch, you know, I can just click. Let's say I want to go to input 1, I'll just click on input 1, and you can see input 1 just appeared on there. If I want to do an auto, it's a swipe. So this is really kind of designed more for touch, but I'll do it with I want to go to my camera, I'll just swipe to the right. It's a little hard to see, but you can see a little bit of a fade in there as it transitioned in there. Now, it is full frame rate, right? If you look over there, that's the full video. Just on the web interface, it can only update as fast as the web interface allows for. But the whole thing here is that somebody else can open this panel. You could give them access to like an ME of your system. They could handle a secondary screen, maybe a second output, on-set monitor, whatever it is they need as a secondary control. You could be setting this up, and then they could be assisting you to switch a sub-channel or another channel. I mean, technically, you could run the main switcher, but I might still like to use a board for that, but it wouldn't be an impossibility either. We've also built in, for anybody doing sports, we built in a scoreboard system. Now, you can hook TriCasters up to a supported scoreboard system to get the data in directly, but not everybody has that. So this allows you to basically do a manual entry of that data. So you can pick the sport you want, football, basketball, baseball. You've got to have cricket, because cricket is the one, the make or break sport in here. And so anyways, let's pick basketball. There's basically your thing. You got clocks, scores, all this, and you just click on it, and it will update our titles with this data in real time. So somebody could be sitting off the side just following the scoreboard. Oh, they just scored a point, add 2 points. Oh, they just scored 1, add 2 points. And basically give you a scoreboard-like control system just using a web browser. And this could be like running on your phone if you wanted to. Yeah?
Does the TriCaster have any scoreboard templates for graphics that you can use? Or would you have
It doesn't really come with any, but you can certainly, we give you the live tech software to build that, so you could build your own templates. It's just a matter of your skill level in there.
Yeah, we also have a couple partners that AGT builds some templates just for sport specific.
Yeah.
So there's, on our website, we have a development network partner list from cameras, switchers, routers, you name it. So everything that either has NDI or some that don't is on there. And a lot of them are CG companies with templates and things like that. But you can design your own, like you were saying with that.
And then the last one of this live panel, and I think this is actually, I mean, all the other stuff's cool and really useful, but what if there's something and it's not one of those? I want something else. I want a control panel for an operator and I only want to give them specific controls. And it wasn't, or maybe it was a combination of some of those things. So we also have this thing in here called the Live Panel Builder. And this will basically allow you to custom create your own panel with your own controls, own layouts, buttons, colors, video in the background if you want, and have this go. So this is one I just built. So it's really simple. It's 4 inputs. If I click on one of those, it will put that. This is the output, which doesn't do anything on its own. It just shows me the output. So if I want to go to camera 1, I just click on camera 1. If I want to go to input 3, I click on 3, 4 to 4. I've also, this is not limited to controlling only TriCaster functionality. NDI does have the ability to send commands over those connections. All right, this is that bi-directional communication. So not only am I receiving video from it, I can turn around and send commands back to it. And if that system supports it, I can send it commands to tell it to do things. So we've got one of our NVG1 graphic systems, and I'm creating some buttons to send commands to it. And so from in here, I can say, hey, bring the score bug on. And I click on it, and you can see the score bug just appeared. I see it both on the output, and I also see the raw input of the graphic system appearing in there. Or hey, let's bring the lower thirds on. I've got 2 different lower thirds ones. Click on the button, it fires it off and displays that. So you can build your own of these. In fact, you can build up to 16 different templates. All right, so you can open it up. This is what I edited that one in the morning session. Where's what I haven't edited? There. That is what an empty template looks like. So basically these are just a grid of buttons. You go in, you can configure the sizes, the colors, the text, what the function of that button's going to do. It could be a video background. So you can go in there and basically build out an interface to do the kind of functionality you want. Any of the functions can be anything you can write a macro for. So in the TriCaster, there's a whole macro system where you can make multi-step functions. It's not just a single command. It could be a button for show opener. When you hit it, it fades up from black. It plays a video clip in. It brings a graphic. It brings the audio. It switches to your host of your show, with a certain transition. And that could all be a single button press to make that all happen. So,
Question.
uh-huh.
I don't know if you said this already. Is this NewTek, is this TriCaster exclusive, this software?
This software is part of, it comes standard on our new IP series system, which is our highest end solution, and on our TriCaster TC1, which is our newest TriCaster model we released at NAB just a few months ago. This will be a paid add-on for it that you'll be able to add to it. None of the other TriCaster models we make have the capability to accept this, because this is just, unfortunately, it's pushing the older systems too hard for them to be able to keep up. Although the technology this is built on is in our older TriCaster system, so there is the ability, like I've written my own to do it, but this is much more sophisticated, and it's just, at that point it's like you need the newer stuff.
Like the TriCaster Mini doesn't have the audio controls.
No. Again, somebody could write one from scratch because the underlying technology is there, but this code requires too much processing power for it. I mean, this is very sophisticated.
We're not supposed to do it either.
What's that?
We're not supposed to do it.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's Live Panel, and the last thing I'll just say about Live Panel is that if you look at this and you're like, man, this is awesome, and I want this, I don't know how to do that, right? I don't know how to make a good macro to make it all work, or NewTek has a professional services group. We can do this for you. We can work with you, find out what your workflows are, help develop all the macros, develop the panels, so you can just get here you go, here's your panel with your functionality in it, and you're ready to start using it, and you don't have to sit there trying to figure this all out on your own. So we'll help you with this if that's what you need. Okay, let's go back. So that's TriCaster, new TriCaster and IP series stuff. Let's continue on. The next product category is enhanced. So this is where we're taking our production and we're adding to it additional functionality and capabilities. The main ones I want to hit on here, one of the things NewTek has done recently here is we've been partnering with a lot of best of breed vendors. And so you'll see me mention some of these other names on there, but VizRT is a company out there that makes graphic systems. They're basically considered by most people to be the pinnacle graphic solution in the industry. Out of all the major networks in the US, only one network doesn't use VizRT graphics. So if you're watching football, basketball, the news on virtually any station, chances are any of the graphics you're watching is being produced by VizRT. We partner with VizRT and build a special unit called the NVG1, which is a NewTek built and branded, NDI capable VizRT system. This is not like a VizRT system. This is a VizRT system. It is 100% compatible with VizRT graphics and shows because it's their exact software just running in a box that we built. So if you're looking for that really high-end graphic solution, we have a solution for that. We also do include a built-in news and sports package in this, so even when you get this out of the box, you've got graphics to start working with. This isn't, buy it and now create it and then you can use it. This is, we've got it ready to go the day you get it. So we'll take a look at that really quick. NewTek 3Play, we've got one here if anybody's interested in seeing more on it. This is our instant replay slow motion system. We've had these out for many years. And I've got one over there if you're curious to see it firsthand. But if you do sports, you need that dynamic, slow motion, instant replay type capabilities that you're used to seeing with sports these days. We make systems that do that kind of stuff. Talk show, again, we saw this already in the TriCaster. This has effectively been built in now, but we do still sell the standalone talk show units. There's both single and quad channel versions available, so if you need to expand, or you just need talk show capabilities with non-NewTek gear, These are fully compatible with other video. They've got SDI inputs on them even, so you can use it with traditional gear as well. One thing I will throw out there is that some people do get like the single channel units and they put them out in remote locations where they need to bring in people because, you know, Skype, well, unfortunately most people are used to Skype looking like Skype. And why does Skype look like Skype? It does because that's what your webcam looks like. And when you use a webcam, it looks like webcam. If you put a talk show unit and you put a broadcast camera at that remote location, I've had people, we've done this test for people, and they on the other end are like, there's no way I'm looking at Skype right now. I'm like, that is Skype. It's just, when you put a broadcast camera in it, it looks like a broadcast camera. And so we have people out there doing it. We've had people key the Skype signal on a green screen and put it out. Yahoo is using this. If you watch Yahoo, they do like their own kind of sports show where they're Skyping people in. They're all talk shows. All those people all across the country have talk shows on the other end, and that's how they get the signal back to the main kind of production. We also have a product out there called NDI Telestrator, and this will allow you to draw on the screen, heavily used for sports, but certainly education or training can be useful as well. Just a software application. It pulls in an NDI feed. You draw on it with a mouse or a pen or your finger if it's a touchscreen system, and then the what you draw goes back out as an NDI feed into your production, and you can overlay it and do whatever you want to with it. Let me give you just the really, really quick VizRT kind of info here. So this is what VizRT looks like. Like I said, it is VizRT. So you might be like, that doesn't look like NewTek software to me. That's because it's really VizRT that we're looking at here. But nonetheless, we've got our shows up here. We can take our templates, build new templates down here where I can set up all the different graphics I want. When I select one of these are all the values I could change. So that includes graphics, titles, colors, text, all that kind of stuff. So I can go in there. The whole thing with VizRT, their workflow might not be for some people exactly what they're used to. Because some people are used to kind of the all-in-one CG solution that like I just do it all there. VizRT is really designed for an artist playback workflow. You have an artist who creates the graphics and they choose what becomes available for the playback operator to play, to modify. They can't modify everything. They only modify what they allow them to modify. And then there's the playback system. This is the playback system. So I'm going to load the show in. I can change what the artist allowed me to change. That way I can't mess things up, and I can only change the things that should be allowed to be changed. And if you think about this from a broadcast standing, if you're NBC, right, you don't want the station out there changing NBC look and branding. You want to keep that the way it should be, but only allow them to change the thing for their local station. So that's kind of the mindset in here. But anyways, you can change that stuff in here, and then we can play it out. And the cool part of this is that the play out of this can be done from our macro system. So I can go in here, you saw this just a second ago, but I'll play it again full screen so you can see it. I can choose one of these to play, and there is the full quality graphics coming out right over the network with alpha channel and everything, right? So it's just one NDI channel coming in. Let me go play the score bug in there. And we'll do that. In fact, we'll play both of them. I'll click one and I'll click the other. You can see both of them. So I've got actually two channels of output from here. So I can output two completely independent channels of video with alpha channel. And that's the basics of how a VizRT system works. I will just say if you want to create your own, there's a few options out there. You can work with NewTek, our professional services, if you need custom graphics built. If you're working with a production where they have access to VizRT graphics, and let's be, one of the common ones in there, I don't know if anybody's at college, if you're doing ESPN3 type productions, all right, those are often on ESPN, you can go to ESPN, because they build all their graphics in Viz, you can get those graphics, load them in the system, and you will have the ESPN graphics in your production. Or if you're a news station and you're one of the, except for the one who doesn't use Viz, any of the other ones, you'd be able to go to your corporate offices and get the Viz graphics. So that's an option as well. If you do want the creation software, we can work with you and Viz to get the Viz artist software. That is something you'd have to purchase, but that will give you the ability to create it your own if you wanted that capability as well. All right, let's finish up here. The last things I want to talk about are our distribution. So these are all the products to go back out. All right, so we've brought the video in as IP, we've produced a show, we've enhanced it with other capabilities like slow motion, instant replay, a talk show, or graphics. Now we need to get it back out to where it needs to go. And these are all solutions to do that. The first is Media DS. I'm going to talk about this one a little bit more in depth as well, but this is like the encoding streaming you find in a TriCaster broken out as a separate box. All right, so if you need more streaming capability, this would give it. This also functions as distribution. So not only will it stream, but this will allow you to basically, in essence, become your own CDN. You know, if you wanted to be like your own, Ustream, this is kind of like that. The Connect NC1, which we looked at earlier, does have output capability, so you could certainly use this to output. The NewTek IP Series Studio Expansion module, this is an extra module that if you need more compositing and layering capability beyond what our systems can do, which admittedly is already a lot, this is a separate box. It gives you like more of that capability, so this allows you to build into even larger productions. We also have some software applications. NDI Transmit is a software program that allows you to take an NDI feed and turn it into a webcam feed. So I mentioned that software that does it with the cameras, right? This is like the full-blown version of it that does it with anything. So with the camera version, you only works with the cameras that you buy or the Sparks that you buy. But if you said, man, I just want to do this with any NDI feed whatsoever, we do sell a full version of it, and you put this on there, and then I could feed NDI video into Skype for Business, Skype, Google Hangouts, WebEx, GoToTraining, GoToMeeting, whatever the software is that takes a webcam, it will feed it in. We also have a piece of software called ISO Recorder. When you generate all these NDI feeds into your network, you might need to record them. This will allow you to do that. And we also have a piece of software called NDI Studio Monitor that allows you to view these. We saw this earlier. Let me just take 2 minutes and show Media DS here. Media DS is our encoding and distribution system, and basically you've got 4 inputs and you can choose different destinations you want them to go. There's different quality settings you can pick from in here. So if you wanted to choose what resolution, bit rate, you can custom design your own in there as well. These can be NDI or SDI for the sources, and then stream them out to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, whatever those destinations are. Again, this box can also function as a server, and even if you've never built a web page, you've never operated a streaming server in your life, we make it really easy. We've got these built-in web pages that you can just pull up here, and the button here, edit web pages. And so for each channel in here, a web page has been developed, and you just fill in the data. I want this graphic, this description, this info, and there's the URL that you would give to somebody to watch that stream. Or if you want to embed it in a web page, there's the copy embed code, and your webmaster could just embed that little piece of code in their web page, and they'll have that stream. So let me just show you the stream really quick.
How many people can you serve?
That's based upon network and settings, but needless to say, on a local web network, it wouldn't be hard to serve up hundreds of users. If you needed larger, you can certainly put multiple boxes together, because Wowza does allow like edge servers and stuff. So you could scale this in any size you want, but a single box can handle hundreds of users without a problem. So you could put this inside a school or a corporation, stream inside your firewall, not having to use external bandwidth, and probably have most of the users, depending on the settings, maybe all the users watching that stream simultaneously. So I'm just going to go to my laptop really quick here, open up a web browser, type in the web address that is in there, 101, 218, was it? Yeah. So there, I've not programmed any information, but there's the web page it generated. I'll hit play. There's the video that, is the basketball footage on the second channel, which, by the way, I forgot to turn off this morning. So this is 4 hours and 13 minutes. It's been streaming continuously at this point. So there's the footage coming in. And again, I could have, as many people as, pretty much I want, up to, I guess, the bandwidth of the system watching this stream at the same time. This will also generate the proper kind of stream, whether it be an iPad or an Android, right? It takes care of all of that for you. You don't have to think about it.
You can embed that into your own web page.
Exactly. It handles all the playback, all the conversion, the protocols and stuff. So whether they use an iPhone, an Android, a tablet, a PC, a Mac, a Linux box, when they pull this page up, the appropriate player and video format will be converted and sent to them so that they'll be able to view that stream. So it takes all of that guesswork out of it. It just makes it all automatic. Yep. So we'll have time at the end if there's other questions. We're getting very close to the end here, so I want to give John a last few minutes here to talk about everything we saw here, and now the question is, I want to buy some of it, and he'll tell you some ways that you can do that. So,
Set me up, will you do that?
yep. Do you need your thing?
Thanks, John.
Okay.
We'll do it.
Sure. See, have a good flight. There you go.
Thank you, sir. Long day. I get it. Good afternoon, everybody. My name's John Gunderson, and I'm with Marlin Finance. We are a NewTek's finance partner. We have been working with NewTek for about a year and a half now, and we've officially cemented our relationship about 5 months ago. And the reason why NewTek asked us to partner with them and we decided to work with them is to provide options for you guys to buy this really kind of cool stuff. I mean, whether it's NewTek gear, LiveView gear, Panasonic gear, if you don't have the capital and you need the good stuff, there are options out there to help you acquire. So we'll take a few minutes, we'll talk about it. Question, has anyone used financing in the past? Okay, favorable, unfavorable experience?
It was a while ago.
What's that?
It was a while ago, it was so-so.
Okay, anybody else?